Hello and welcome back to the WTF Sunderland podcast for another of our mid-season episodes, although it's kind of more end of season if you prefer, but we'll call it mid-season so it's got a title. But we're going to do the end of season award show, which is where we're basically looking to round off our own personal end of season awards, where we've got all the regulars with us. First and foremost, it is Sophie. Sophie, how are you doing? Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm really good, thank you. I can't believe that we've still done it. I feel like
Mm.
the days have gone by and I just keep thinking every time I wake up, I'm thinking, did we actually do that? I will be lying if I say I haven't watched the match back at least three times in
I
full.
keep doing that thing where I'm like, oh, there's more content. They've done more content. The EFL have done more content. Let's watch it. Ooh, this is Jermaine Defoe's reaction. Let's watch Jermaine Defoe's reaction. I'm even watching like YouTubers that I'm too old for YouTubers. I know that sounds silly because I've got a show on YouTube, but I watch stuff like I watched this guy called Specs this morning. Never heard of him,
It was
and I was
brilliant,
like,
one.
oh,
Sorry to jump
it
in,
was
but
good.
how actually really good. I was the same. I was like,
It was good.
this is what the kids watch these days. I'm like, why am I sat at 8 o'clock in the morning watching it on YouTube?
It's quite decent. I was sitting there, as you say, about 9 o'clock this morning, stuffing nasal inhaler up my nose, trying to get rid of this, I think, Wembley COVID. But Ross, you've joined us, as people can tell. You've butted in and introduced yourself. How are you doing?
Oh shit, I had to do that. Sorry, I just realised I was like, I don't need to get because we spoke so much before we clicked record. I was just like, oh, hi. I just like a normal chat, but yeah, all good. Same as yous, really. Where it's mad to think that as we're recording this, it was a week ago. We were um we were 1-1 at this stage, just about to go
Mm.
absolutely mental. It's Tommy Watson put us up. Yeah, it is just crazy how a week's gone by, and I've just found it hilarious. Like just that stuff. Like I followed the Premier League on Twitter. Um, just that stuff. It's funny, innit? Like waiting and seeing when the EFL put a thing on like fixture release day. I was like, ha, you mugs, that'll not be us. Not until maybe at least 24 months, hopefully longer. But aye, just nice things. Nice things.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I'm still in that kind of like wonderful hub. Pete, we actually haven't spoke to you since we went back to the Premier League. I'm
I
guessing you well.
know. Do you know what I am? I'm back in Berlin. I've been all over the place, including Guangzhou for the final, Beijing missing. I was up on the Great Wall with my Sunderland top to celebrate all of that stuff. But yeah, look, I do feel like I have missed out on the experiences of Sunderland fans have not actually been there. But you have to deal with what I have to deal with. Being as this is the life. I did get to meet a wonderful bloke in Guangzhou to watch the game with just before it started. I was thinking, oh, I'm going to end up watching this all by myself, and I nipped outside for a bit of fresh air, and I heard, "Where lads, where lads, where lads?" There's this fella coming down, and sure enough, a lad called Barry. He was over in Guangzhou on business, works in the um, textiles and stuff like that, and really from London. But his old man had been stationed at up in Sunderland during World War II when wounded soldiers were coming off the boats. Always been in love with Sunderland since he was a kid. He was there in '73. Was there for loads of other stuff that I was there for as well. And yeah, we ended up stood watching that. I kissed him quite a lot when the game finished. So Barry, I said I'd give you a shout out on the podcast. So there you go. That's your shout out. We also met Alex, the bald-headed mag, who was acting like a knob throughout it, and I played his head like some bongos when Tommy Watson scored. But thank you very much to Hoolies in Guangzhou. They did not pay me for that plug, and I did have to pay for the T-shirt I bought from there to remember where I was. But yeah, that's my story of the playoff final in China.
The fact that he cut out quite a bit, no one's going to notice this. But I'm going to mention it now. Leave that bit of the podcast in. I'll have edited this, so to you, people have sounded very normal, but you cut out quite a bit there. Sort the
Oh
internet
no.
connection out.
Oh man alive, I'll just put that on the list of things I need to sort out.
We're going to go through like each one of you to get like player of the season, game of the season, moments of the season, and so on. But there's a little bit of a difference here where I will change up who I asked first. But if I say who's your player of the year and Ross says Trey Hume, neither Pete nor Sophie can then choose Trey Hume. You have to choose somebody else. So we'll start obviously with player of the season. I'm going to give Ross the first option since he'd probably just put in and give himself the first option anyway. Who's your player of the season and why have you chosen them?
This is tough, but I'll say it and people go, no, I knew that. But I'm gonna go Job. The fact of the matter is, we didn't win a game when he wasn't playing, so it shows how imperative he is to the way we play, and how much it's been his breakout season for me. he's basically a number 8 now as well. There was going into the season, we weren't sure what his best position were. Like some people were going, "Oh, is he a striker? Is he a 10? Is he a 8?" But to me, he's a box-to-box midfielder. But he also, the one that stands out was when we played Portsmouth. I think it was the third game of the season. Portsmouth,
Fourth.
fourth, and he just sat in the six when Daniel was suspended, and he was just brilliant that game as well. Yeah, I just feel like he basically made the team tick in the middle, and there was no surprise that when even in the playoff final when we had to change it up and to get Enzo in centre midfield and get another attacking player on, that it was Neil that was sacrificed and not Job, because he's so imperative for the way we play in the middle of the park. So yeah, Job Bellingham for me, my player of the season.
Since I'm going to let everyone else have a choice rather than choose my own, I'll just agree with you, Ross. That's who I voted for in the player of the season, like the supporters branch ones. Surprised he wasn't a bit closer. I think he's our best player, and I know this might be like tinged with sadness in a couple of weeks when you listen back based on rumours. But look, rumours are just that at the moment. Let's move on and plough on. Sophie, you get the second choice, so Job's out, which means technically you could actually vote for a lot of other players, which is nice. And if last year you'd be like, Jack Clark, and then you'd be knackered. This year you've got a bit more choice. Who are you going for?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's so much choice, like you said. Like this year it's been incredible, and I could literally pick the whole team. But I always think that attackers get all the glory, but I'm not going to go for an attacker, and I'm going to surprise maybe a few people. I'm going to say Dan Neil because I think when things go bad, he gets a lot of flack. But like Ross said, like he got sacrificed and has played in a lower position than what previously he had. And I just think that look, he probably had a bad game in the final, but consistently over the course of the whole season, I think that yeah, it would be Dan Neil for me.
There's a few people said Daniel. I think Daniel was like quite close to winning the Supporters Association Player of the Season. Obviously, Trey won it, and I think then Trey won the official one. But Dan wasn't that far off. I could see that 100%. I thought he started off quite slowly, but I think once he got to grips with that position, he became like really, really important. And I still say, I think Job's our best player. And this is going to sound weird. I also just think when Dan Neil plays well, though, Sunderland just tick. I really think they're taking. Look, he's a local lad, and so I'm going to give him extra points for that. Pete, I just know you're going to go a bit weird with this choice. I don't know why. Because you're just a weird man. So
I'm a strange man, and I'm in a strange prism of jet lag stuff at the moment. So I've also got no idea what I'm saying from one sentence to the next. Um, I was going to give it to Trey Hume because I do genuinely think in terms of a player who's gone through it, but I really, really do want to give you that little left field answer, and I was going to suggest Romain Mundle just about the even though is so injured for so much of the season, but it was Jack Clark. Sunderland are only Jack Clark. They're only Jack Clark. I mean, we were joking just after saying Jack who, and Jack will always have a place in my heart for the way he played for Sunderland over the years. But really, that lad has come in and when he can stay fit, has made that left wing position completely his own. And for me, in a far better way, in a way that makes Sunderland a more dangerous entity than they were under Jack Clark. Because I think Mundle is much quicker, and the way that when he breaks like that, we now are with the likes of Mayenda as well, and Wilson as well as the pace, and Enzo Lafay, just makes Sunderland such a much more dangerous attacking option as a team than I think they were previously. And I think allowing Romain Mundle to play like Romain Mundle plays gives that option as well, just the pace and the goals that he scored as well, man. I mean, some of them have been fantastic. So yes, I think Trey Hume, obviously he's taken home all of the actual trophies, but I'm going to give it the Romain Mundle because I still think I also hope a bit of that is based on what I think we might see coming from next season, or at least I hope so.
I think if it wasn't for his injuries, I think Romain Mundle's right up there for one of the best players this year. I think his injuries probably count him out, if we're completely honest, because it was so long. But you can't really knock his contribution when he's been able to do it, because he's basically replaced a player that we all thought he wouldn't be able to replace, or we didn't think we could replace. And do I like Jack Clark an awful lot? But say he came back in a parallel world, would I play Romain Mundle ahead of him at the moment? Yeah, I would, because I think he's earned that.
Yeah, I'd play Romain Mundle every time at the moment.
Me too. I'll give the first one to Sophie on this. So young player of the season, which basically is like the same as player of the season, essentially. It's like everyone's very young. I think Riggy won the club one, but you could choose anyone really.
I think Mayenda. I think it would
Oi,
be
big man, what's your
Oi.
name?
And you know what? I love him, and the
Mm,
fact that he hates Sam Fender,
helps, doesn't
love
it?
him even more. No, I honestly think that he came in, and to be honest, when we signed him, I thought, here we go, another one that's gonna be rubbish. I did think that he went up to Scotland and didn't pull up trees, but has came back, and when I think this season he's grown in upper body strength that he can fight off. Sometimes I've said it before, I said it again. The ball almost sticks to his feet. You know when he just runs and he runs through people and like that Bristol goal. That was incredible, and the fact that and Coventry as well. So and I think in them moments he has so much to do on the ball. I think it looks easy, it looks beautiful on the eye, but in reality, that would be a really hard finish, both of them. So I think my ender and the fact that he doesn't get frustrated. I think it's easy when we've sat like 4-4-2 or we've sat in a low block. I think it would be very easy to get frustrated, and I don't think you see that with him.
The thing I like about Mayenda is he's just really cool.
Yeah, he's so
Like
cool. These
so,
sunglasses.
he's so cool. Like I just there was something about him. Like when he scored, I loved when they asked him in that interview after the game. They're like, "Oh, were you confident that you could kind of bring it back and score?" And he went, "Yeah." And it was just like, and you were like, I 100% believe that you felt 100% confident you were going to score. I can't disagree with Mayenda. And I think Riggy's been outstanding this season. And I think he's naturally played more than Mayenda, which may have it may have been disadvantageous, if that's even a word, compared to Mayenda, where Mayenda's been allowed to like slowly become the first choice striker, which I think we all said pretty much before, and we all love Wilson. But I think at the playoffs, we said if Mundell plays and you play five in midfield, you've got to go Mayenda because of the way he can carry the ball and drive you about 40 yards up the pitch
Yeah.
by just beating everyone. And the fact that he's cool, he hates Sam Fender, yeah, I'm all about it. Like I'm quite happy to agree on Mayenda. But Pete, you've got again a plethora of choices here because literally everyone apart from Simon Moore is under 30, I think. No, or nine's 30.
Yeah, I think I can be the father of almost all of them without it ever even involving a teenage pregnancy. Look, anyway, on that note, I'm going for a very, very young man. And he is the obvious choice. He did win the actual award, but I think when you put into account everything that comes around Chris Rigg, he is, as I said at the beginning of the season, a phenom. And he has grown in stature, physically, certainly in terms of who he is as a person, as a human being, as a leader of men. I can see him in the future. I mean, so I'm going with Chris Rigg because of who he's grown into as a sports person, but clearly also who he's grown into off the field as well. If you look at that interview that Mayenda did with one of I believe it's a Spanish channel, and he's saying Chris Rigg gives it in all the languages. He does it in all. He's
Mm.
always part of all the chat with that. You look at that footage of '09, and it's beautiful footage of him getting all choked up before the final. That is 17-year-old Chris Rigg on the Wembley pitch, putting his arm around him, going, "Don't worry, son, it's going to be all right. I've got your back." And the thing is he's not going to be scared of that Wembley pitch at all. Not only has he played on it a million times for the England youth teams, he's now got a bit of experience playing on it for Sunderland as well. And I would love to see them back next year, because everything that would mean. But we'll see. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But Chris Rigg, though, look, the goal against Borough, that cheeky little back heel, the way Riggy's father is now absolutely a Mackham, that Riggs' dad is now just 100% a Sunderland fan after all of that nonsense. Well, I will point out that during the final, all I heard every time Chris Rigg touched the ball was this Geordie bloke at the end of the bar going, "Hi, well, like, hey, he's a Newcastle fan, like, and he's coming to Newcastle." So,
He's not.
he's really not. He's really not. But never
Did you
mind.
see?
Let them have
Did,
their little delusions. Hmm?
did you see he's so he was the interview in the Wembley program. Have you seen what was wrote in the Wembley program? They're like, Chris, what's your pet hate? or like what do you not like about football? And his response was stuttered penalties are woke.
Yeah, woke nonsense. I did love that. It's like, that's not the answer of a 17-year-old. That's the answer of a 49-year-old three-time divorced reform counsellor.
I was absolutely creased with it, but
Woke
yeah, look,
nonsense. Just folded his newspaper up. Oh.
I've had enough of
Anyway,
it.
right, lads. No, I think that he has to be. I just think he's a special footballer, and we're very lucky to have seen him. And I've got a feeling we may well see him for quite some time yet.
I hope so. I really do. I love Riggy. I think he's had a great season. I think he's drop-offs that he's had have just been natural. Like he's literally still a kid. Like I don't think he's even that close to 18. So like yeah, no bad word to say about him and his dad with his fantastic swing and jaw. Ross,
I'm gonna leave that in.
And that's
no,
us never getting an interview with Riggy.
Chrissy Rigg Senior for a mag, you're all right. Ross, who's I'm gonna say who's your favorite dealer there? Who's your
He's in prison.
oh God. Um who's your favorite young player? No, that's not what I meant. Who's your player of the year, young player of the year, and why is it Leo Yelder?
It's not Leo Yelder.
Ah,
I think young player, the criteria has got to be whether they've been 21 this season.
yeah, I think so.
So Romain Mundle. People forget he only just turned 22 last month, which is mad. He's still a kid, and he plays with so much more maturity. Um, yeah, just to think the difference he's made when he's been fit, especially at the start of the season when he stepped into Clark's role. And I've just voted for Joe as player of the season, so I couldn't really vote him again as young player of the season. So yeah, Mundle for me, and he scored some crucial goals. He doesn't get many, but when he does score, they seem to be meaningful.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think like when I look back at like moments of the season, which I know we're going to come to, I thought his goal against Burnley was like really important because I think I'm currently listening back to all the old episodes we've done, which is a painstaking thing to do and really proves we know absolutely nothing about football, any of us, by the way. But like I was listening back to it and like before like the first few games, you kind of like, if Clarkey goes like what have you got to bring in? Like, who's ready to fill in that step? We're gonna probably have to spend money. And then I remember when Mundle did it, and it was so Jack Clark-esque. He kind of just went, "All right, that's fine then." And he just never really like stopped doing that until he got injured, to the point where when he did come back in the playoff final, you're like, "Oh, class!" As it was, I thought Chowdhury absolutely done him in the playoff final. However, he didn't manage Tommy Watson quite as well.
I think as well that you've got to remember Mundle. He was I don't think he was really.
Fully fair.
He's never been fully fit since the Coventry game. I don't think.
Hmm.
So this pre-season will be massive for him to get a give him a proper rest whilst also just strengthening his whole body because again that's the one thing that can happen a lot at this stage of the career when they're growing still and they're playing week in week out, which the bodies aren't used to, especially for a Mundle in this case where it's his first full season. I know it's been like hampered by injuries, but it's the first time he's came in for pre-season till the playoff final when the season's ended that he's been involved as a first team member of a squad all the way through because he only came to us in January last year, didn't he? And he was in the basically the fringes of the was it Standard where we signed him from somewhere in Belgium. So yeah, I think it'll be good. And of course, when you mentioned Tommy Watson there, he's only 19 as well. You know what I mean? Like if it wasn't for injuries again, I think he would have played a bigger part because when Mundle was out, he came on against Stoke. He played brilliantly. It was the first half against Bristol City when he was it Bristol City, yeah, where he got injured. And
Hmm.
to that point, he was the spark, and we kind of lost it when he went off. So yeah, it's a shame the way his season's gone. Obviously, had it's all been alluded to, and I'm glad in a way. I know we're going on a bit of a caveat, but I'm glad in a way that he faced up to it in the interviews after as well. That and the honest, like yeah, I've took some shit from Sunderland fans because he has, and I think some of it's probably not the abuse and the booing. I don't agree with that, but I think it's fair enough for Sunderland fans to be still frustrated now that he's left for Brighton. You know what I mean? It's Brighton. No offense, Like, good
It,
club, run well, but it's still Brighton compared to Sunderland. I still don't get it. But I
no,
suppose I can let him off after what he his time
yeah,
last week.
I'll
What happened? You know what I mean? You can give him a bit of a wide berth on that one.
I'll let him off, but I won't be told that when he scored that goal and you see him in the interviews and stuff like that, and he's carried himself quite well. But there's a part of that his head there because he's still a kid and he doesn't know how to do a poker face yet. You can see he's a bit like, ah, shit, maybe I should have just, I don't know, done another year or something like that. But look, you know what? Like for what he did, like at this point, not that I wouldn't have wished him good luck beforehand, but I probably wouldn't have kept an eye on him as much because of, like, yeah, I'm disappointed. But like, good luck to him. I hope he does well. Apart from obviously, when he plays against us next year, I hope he's absolutely shite. But apart from those two games, yeah, I hope you do well, mate. The next one's a little bit more difficult. There's probably obvious signings, but it's going to whittle down a little bit. And Pete, you haven't had first choice yet, so I'll give you the first choice. So you let off a bit here. Signing of the season. Signing of the season.
Signing of the season. Enzo Lafay. I
Mm,
think it honestly, whether he actually, I mean, look, he's done some wonderful things with a football at a level that we've not seen players being able to comfortably do in a red and white shirt for a long time. That we've signed like actual. For a little while, watching Sunderland in League One could have been. It was quite good for the self-esteem. It kept me trucking along with me Sunday League for a bit over here. Because because you would watch the Premier League and you think like, no, Christ, look at them, they're the greatest athletes in the world at the moment, doing things that you couldn't possibly. But there was a few years over the last 8 when you've watched Sunderland and thought, yeah, I can do that. Get me this season's kit and a new pair of boots. Those days are gone now. Because Enzo Lafay stuff, I can watch 3 or 4 times, and I'm still not quite sure how he's controlled that and brought it through, or how he's seen that pass and he's played with the outside of his boot. And I think that's for me just like the brand recognition that come with the Enzo Lafay signing. We were all of a sudden on sports shows over here in Germany and various other places in Europe of like League Two or like a second division Sunderland have signed a player from Roma. Could these be? It drew a lot of attention onto Sunderland, and obviously he hasn't disappointed. Really, I mean, I think We would all love to see him in the middle more, and hopefully that's what we're going to do next season because now he's ours. Um, I think the skill, the absolute like I love it when you see him pelting with running when you see him chasing down something in the opposition third, there's a commitment there that I don't think we've seen for a while, and it must be terrifying to have somebody like him running at you. What I never want to see happen again, though, is to see him in the left back position chasing back for anybody ever again. Um,
or his hamstring snap in March
or
or whatever it
any
may be.
injuries. I want to see him stop injury free because that's obviously the aim for everybody. But yeah, I'm going to Enzo Lafay just because of, well, ultimately it ended up with 2 great passes that put through for the goals that were most needed. But also, I think he was that shot in the arm of like, all right, we're really serious about this. If we need the actual people, we'll go to Roma and get them. Sunderland weren't doing that previously.
I find it interesting that there's a few like championship podcasts. This is me not having a go. Like I don't watch other championship teams as much, but I find it quite interesting before the playoff final or before the playoffs how many like other podcasts had gone, oh, he's a flop without like the caveat of he was injured for like 5, 6 weeks
Yeah, yeah,
and he's played
yeah.
left wing because he's been forced to, and then comes to the playoffs. First goal is his pass. The second goal is his pressing. That's where the mistake comes from. Then you get the Coventry up at home. It's his corner for Ballard, and then he doesn't directly set up the best passes from Patrick Roberts, but he's directly involved in that. And at the end, when like he celebrates that getting that foul, and he's like keeping basically don't keep you up to a Wilson and like the Sheffield United half. Like for me, the playoff period. If you want to write off the rest of it, which I'm not going to, because I think there's probably too many caveats with him being like playing on the left wing and had an injury and all those sort of things that go with it. But let's just go with the idea that Enzo was a flop up until the playoffs, and then we put the playoffs, and you go, all right, that's why we signed him. I think some people were like, oh, I thought Enzo was going to be the sign that got into automatic playoffs. Without Enzo, we don't go up through the playoffs either. He was heavily involved.
No, absolutely. And as I keep saying, this, with an element of flair that has been missing. And he certainly brings that. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him in the Premier League next year. I love that he whipped Roma out of his bio almost within 12 hours of the win. But yeah, no, absolutely class. Love him to bits.
Colosseum? No, Jackie White.
Yeah, he went, look, wait, what's it called, man? The Pension Monument's got a certain Greco-Roman feel to it. I'm
It's
sure
quite nice.
it's lovely. If he ever feels a bit lonely, he can go for a walk up there.
Ross, there's actually not as much choice on the signing of the season because a lot of the players actually like, which is another podcast on its own, like Mayenda and that signings from like what we thought was a bad recruitment window actually stepped up a little bit this year. But there's enough to get a mention here. So who's your signing of the season?
Um, to me, it's got to be Wilson Isidore because,
Wilson is a dog. Do, do, do.
as Dave said, what we needed was another left winger. Um, sorry, Dave. Not even he had to defend himself, and I've just totally done him. Yeah, it was because my end had done really well, but you could tell he needed to be eased in. Like I
Mhm.
don't, if Wilson doesn't come in and have the impact that he did, then I don't think my end is the player that he is now because he would have played too much. He would have been overexposed, and it's allowed them to build a partnership at times, which has helped my ender's game a lot. Um, but it was just fantastic to see for that period when he came in up to like Christmas time, New Year, where we just had a striker where like they ran through defenses, didn't shit themselves, didn't fall over, and just put the ball in the back of the net. And I was like, fucking hell, that's what a striker does. It's been a while.
Helps that
And
he's an absolute psychopath as well.
and
Clearly,
he's fucking hilarious. Like, remember when they
he's
did
really
the
funny.
Halloween thing? The
Yeah.
Halloween video where he's just like bouncing around and that. The bloke's an absolute lunatic. And it was just nice to have a fun lunatic. And then in pure Sunderland fashion, the nicest person, happiest person in the world misses two penalties and a 6 point, and you're like, oh no, here we go. And then let's be honest, he had a bit of a stinker going up to the playoffs, and then Coventry away gets one chance, bang,
Yeah.
clinical. That's what he's all about, and I think as well. I think he mentioned it himself that he's never played this many games in such a short space of time, so he's the one who'll benefit from the rest because we're seeing a fit and fresh Wilson Isidore is a brilliant striker and a great finisher. So yeah, he was a massive part of the reason we began to believe we could do it, and his goals were invaluable. So Wilson Isidore signed in the summer, brilliant left winger,
Probably
wing
the
striker.
first. Probably, probably the first like striker that we think can score 15 goals a season since Roscoe. And I think we could do our own podcast on how much we missed Roscoe at points when we were really struggling last season. But also the first ever Sunderland player to follow the podcast, or either former, current, or like previous. So he gets kudos for that. Thanks very much. Hasn't given me any abuse yet, so he's not like your standard followers that we're getting at the minute. But yeah, I think I'd probably agree with Wilson. Probably, if I'm honest, just I think people forget that he's first started and covered until like I think late September or early September as well, which there's no real preseason there really. So the interview he did with a French boy that I think's his mate that came over did like an hour-long interview with him, and there's subtitles on it, so you can read it and that. Hearing like how much he just gets Sunderland. People can fake loving this club and they can fake certain things, but like you can hear in his voice, he's like, I walked down the street and he's like, and I thought he was going to say, oh, people stop me, and I was going to be like, oh, that's not that weird. But he went, I just see Sunderland tattoos everywhere. Like I see like Sunderland till I die tattooed on people's arms, and he's like, we just don't have that in France. Like they don't have things like that. And I'm watching it like, oh yeah, I suppose that's kind of probably true that. But he seems to get the area, and I like the fact that he's quite clearly an absolute nutcase, but the best kind of nutcase. So yeah, I'm happy with Wilson as it always mine actually. But Sophie, you've got slim pickings because the two big hitters have gone, I think, but there's still enough there to say that you can pick a signing of the season.
For me, it would be Mepham. I
Yeah.
think. I think that would be the, you know, yeah, he probably didn't play that much of a big part when Reggie dropped him, but obviously when he was called upon to do so in the final, he came on, proved a point, and we don't get into the top six and flirt with automatics without him. Because personally, I think he's, in terms of championship standings, he's a Rolls Royce of a player. Calm, cool, collected on the ball. you know, he was just always there at the right time. And I always feel like with centre halves, that's the making of a great centre half. It's just they're there at the right time. It's not just not necessarily about technical skill and all that kind of thing. Although in the Premier League, I suppose with your Virgil van Dijks and people like that, I suppose it is. But no, I think he's a proper, really good centre half and has been throughout the season for us. So he would be mine.
Yeah, I think he's a really classy defender, Meps, and I thought he had a poorish end of the season, but I thought he was excellent for like the bulk of the season to the point where I was like, I hope we sign him in January. I hope he's excellent. And then I kind of got all enthused with the whole Ballard loving because I love Dan Ballard, and you know I would never say anything bad to him because he could probably pan me head in because he's massive. But I felt like when Mepham came on, if that's Mepham's last game for Sunderland, I'm so thankful of it because I thought losing to Gunine was massive. I kept saying to Ashley, "Oh, it's massive that. Oh, it's massive that. Oh, Mepham hasn't been great the past couple of weeks. Oh God!" And he came on and he was class. And he actually stopped, especially when Reggie switched around the left and the right defenders, so he was more on Kiefer Moore. I felt that's when Kiefer Moore like shut up. And great pass by the way, Kiefer. Been watching it all week. Thanks very much, pal. Really appreciate it. But Sophie, I'll stick with you because you're going to get the first choice in this one. There's a tons of choice here, but like I'd be surprised if you don't pick the one I think. What's your goal of the season? And you can have it for like emotional
Oh.
reasons, you can have it for sentimental reasons, you can have it for skill, quality, whatever you like.
Are we including the playoffs in this?
Oh, aye.
Okay. I think it would be the first leg, my enders goal for me. Because I have never screamed so much in my life and ran round. I'm not even joking. My dad was on his knees in our kitchen praying, and I was sat there and I couldn't believe it. And I think it's because it was just a moment of class from my end. You know, we've spoken about how he doesn't get frustrated and he just waits for them moments. So, but that would be it because I think he's got so much to do on the ball. And it kind of killed the thing of I knew from that moment that we were gonna get to Wembley at that moment. So yeah, that would be it for me.
I agree with you on that. I think you're looking at maybe Ballard moment in the player final goals and the way it was, but I think when my ender scored, that was the minute when you went, ah, hang on a minute. Like they've made a massive bollock here. He's finished that brilliantly. We've won at Coventry for the first. Oh, hang on a minute, and you kind of start going, oh, okay, okay, fair enough. So yeah, I can agree and understand that. Ross, I'll give you the next choice. You're gonna have to come off mute, like.
I'm still thinking. It's so hard between two goals. Um, I've got to go for Tommy Watson's at Wembley. I'm so sorry, Pete, because to be fair, you've still got a really good one there as well, haven't you? I
Yeah.
just couldn't believe it. I still can't now. Like we we know what the other goal's going to be, but after that, we're like that can't happen twice,
It's a class
and it
goal as
did.
well. Like it's a class goal.
It's just the way he just passed into the net. Like we were right behind it. We were very lucky to be right behind it. Everything was just perfect. You knew as well, like they were spent. Other than hoofing it long, they did nothing for the last 15 minutes from when Mayenda scored, and you just like the emotion. I just jumped around like an absolute lunatic. I was knackered the day after. I was like, bloody hell! I must have jumped around more than I've ever done since the last 10 years of my life. And I just in the moment I just totally lost it. And it's one of them where I couldn't believe it, but I just took it all in at the same time. And then I just started crying when I realised what had just happened. And if I could relive one moment and one goal for the rest of my life for that feeling alone, it would be that Tommy Watson goal. And I'm getting emotional thinking about it now. Like it was a week ago, but it feels so long ago at the same time. Like it was just outstanding, and it was just looking around after as well. And it's the first time I've ever seen like normally when you score at Wembley, it's just pure bedlam, and it
Mm.
was for the first minute, and then you turn around, everyone's got their head in their hands. They're like, "What the fuck's just happened again?" Like not again. Like is this happening again? Is this does as you said in the podcast after this doesn't happen to clubs like us. We're the other way around. You know what I mean? It happens to us, not for us. And Yeah, it was just outstanding. Like I say, a brilliant goal as well. It wasn't just like a deflected goal right next to goal because of defensive error. Charlton when they beat us, you know what I mean? Actually had a bit of quality to it as well. I'm still bitter about Charlton. Fucking devastated they got promoted. Fuck's sake. Um, yeah, but yeah, Tommy Watson's my goal of the season.
I felt like it's quite funny because obviously you were like 4 rows in front of me when Watson scored. You've never looked more circular. You
Honestly,
just
I was doing star jumps. You see in the video, like the slow mo
Yo.
that they did on Sky Sports. You just see me disappear every other 2 seconds, and my head just appears above someone else. And my arms are there. I'm literally doing star jumps, just jumping up and down, just going yes,
Uh,
yes. And it was honestly
uh.
like an out of body experience. Unbelievable.
Yeah, brilliant. Pete, I think I know the obvious answer. And I think we're all going for me. Look, all the goals were good goals. My end is a good goal. He had a lot of work to do. Does really well around the keeper. Watson's a really good finish. It's a really good goal, and obviously what it means. But you can either go with like the Bedlam wonderful like head explosion moment, or you can go with technical skill and quality because as brilliant as it was, Ballard folding himself like a deck chair wasn't the best terror I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it was, but it wasn't, if that makes sense.
Look, I mean, I was going to go for Ilian Meslier scoring the own goal for,
You mean Alan Brown's 20-yard screamer?
Alan Brown's 20-yard screamer. I mean, it does get an honourable mention for a good reason because that was a moment this season where I started to believe perhaps the luck and little bits and pieces were starting to go with Sunderland because we have had those moments at the time we've needed them. And so, like, I know it's a daft one, and obviously the pictures of Reggie going up to him afterwards and everything like that. But in previous seasons, I would have given, oh, that's not happening. We're not getting this last minute, like something out of this match. And then for it to happen, I was just from that moment onwards, had it in my brain going, it could be, it could be, it might well be. And then sure enough, here we are. But yeah, look, I'm going Dan Ballard because it was you're right. It's not technically the greatest header that'll ever be headed, but it's probably one of the most meaningful ones. I think
Mhm.
there's just so much in that. Leo Hjelde coming on, making the runs to move the players in the right directions to allow it to reach Dan's head. Enzo with his little kiss on top of the ball. So many people who seem to be, I mean, look, it would never cross my mind when I'm at the match to have my phone in my hand or to take videos. And I'm so glad it does cross the minds of so many of you who go because you allow the likes of me who can't get for geographical or whatever reasons to be able to experience some of that because the amount of people who went, we never score from corners, so I'm purposely going to video this one corner here because I've got a good feeling about it. And all of those different angles coming together and then just the madness of it, the absolute madness of it. I mean, I don't know if I was on the pod in time to tell you is that like I mean I'm superstitious as anything about everything. And the only two matches that Yen Yen had seen, and my wife had been Coventry at the stadium when it was Bale's first game. And it was a disaster. And then she watched Coventry, exactly. And then she'd watched Coventry earlier this season when it had all gone tits up. And I'd asked her, I was like, look, would you mind going out while the match is on? In the nicest possible way, how do I put this across? Would you mind leaving our home and going out into the Berlin night?
Can you just
And, th
depart, please?
and thankfully, she took it really, really well, and went out with one of our friends, Natasha. And I got a message from them just afterwards, after I was sat in the dark, no lights on, just TV by myself, rosary beads in hand, the rosary beads that I carted all the way to bloody China with us, and then down to Guangzhou. Um, and I get a text message from her. Clearly, they've been watching it or they've been following it, going, "Can I come home now?" It's after the paddock. Yes, okay, all right, it's all done. So, that goal, and then it's setting in motion the fact that we had to get a hold of those tickets and the help that you guys gave us to be able to get me dad to the final, which, is something I'll never be able to repay you for properly. And he absolutely had a lovely time. So thank you for that. But no, that Dan Ballard goal will always have a nice a bit of family folklore as well in there. It's like because I'm sure I'm going to get that in the neck at some point. Going, Do we ever tell you the story about when your dad sent us out onto the streets in the middle of the night so that
Yeah.
his football team could win?
I would,
But
people might have seen the photo posted this morning, so I don't know how many people are aware of the film. They'll either be aware of the film or have never heard of it. But if you've seen a film called The Disaster Artist, he was in the film that was based on that. So a film called The Room, which is a very big cult room. Like I'm friends with a guy called Greg from that, and he was over this morning doing a screening. So as it was, because it's only been a week, I was like, right, Greg, do you like football? Do you like soccer? And he was like, yeah, nah, not really. And I was like, right, I've never really shown you my football club before. Like, sit down and watch this. And I could see him half being like, I'm looking at my phone, I'm not paying any interest in this. And I put the Ballard goal on for him. His head popped up and he went, oh my God. What? They're going crazy, man. Oh my God. And I was like, so you get this? He was like, I don't know what it means, but oh my God, I'm guessing it was important. And I was like,
mate,
really important, mate. Yeah.
I have had messages from people from just, geographically, just how much, just little things like that have
hmm
touched them around the world from Sunderland. So I've had messages from West Coast to East Coast
Show
across
me
the
on the bear
US.
where Dan Ballard touched you.
Oh yeah,
Um,
absolutely. It's absolutely. Oh, like a message from Tehran from a guy I know who's a correspondent there. All across Europe, please, people wanting to come, going. The lads who go to Union Berlin here are like, as soon as the fixtures are announced, we need to work out what's the best way to get over. We've always wanted to go and see the stadium, and like, no better excuse than this now. Like, just so many people from all over the place getting in touch, going, you must have loved that. That must have been crazy. And yeah, I mean, I'm sad I wasn't there, but it is nice to know that there are so many people out there who have like an interest in Sunderland, who haven't been introduced to those little bits of passion that come. I mean, few better than that Dan Ballard one. The only one that would probably be better would be the Tommy Watson one.
nah, I'm still saying Ballard. I know it's controversial, but for
Ah, I
me,
think I'm
Ballard
with
is
you
like
as well. Just yeah, I
I
got
know,
it.
I know people disagree because Watson got a say and that was a surreal moment and all that kind of stuff. But like, it was the fact that when Ballard put it in, you went, "Fucking hell, we've won! Fuck you, Coventry! Oh my God! Like, what? How was it going?" And then, you're looking at the ref and you're like, "He's gonna blow! He's got the whistle in his mouth!" Like, it was a
And
moment in time.
massive respect to the fella who's come up with that song to the tune of Gillette, the best a man can get, because I was
Ballard!
striding around Beijing when I was lost on the first couple of days, just Enzo to Dan, one again for
Sunderland!
Sunderland. Ballad.
Ballard!
Oh man, brilliant. I love that.
The best part
Yeah.
is that how Mac on the accent is in that song when he goes, heads the balling off the bar. Like it's so Macam, I've lost that accent to that extent. Like I've been in
Ah,
Scotland far too long. But we have one more, and I've changed up a little bit because game of the season is the playoff final. If it isn't, it's Coventry. If it isn't, it's Coventry again. There's very few options we could choose. That would be like just going around the houses and giving the obvious answers. We could say most improved player, but that's again very obvious. It's Eliza Mayenda, and I don't think it would be fair if we said anyone but Eliza Mayenda. The impact he's had, we've already talked about. It was massive. So I've changed it a bit before we finish up, and I'll give this first one to Ross. One player you think will make the step up to the Premier League with minimal fuss?
Dan Ballard. As a defender, when fit, outstanding. He's the best defender in the championship when fit. Just pure defensive, one on one in the air. I just think as an all rounder, he's fantastic. Um, and although we got beat, obviously that game against Saudi Arabia, he was he scored an ungoing away penalty. Yet all of my friends who follow Saudi Arabia were like, he's he was a standout player for us, and that was a year ago when we weren't even playing well. And this year, I think when he's played, he's been outstanding. Um, just got to keep him fit. Hopefully, do you know what actually might help him? Less games next season
Yeah.
and less midweeks, which has been mentioned quite a lot. So yeah, a big year for him, and I feel like he's one who I think would definitely step up. He's in my starting 11 for the first game of the season for sure.
Yeah, mine too. I'm not going to argue Ballard. Big fan. I think the more the season's gone on, the more especially when he came out and then came back in, I was like, all right, okay, I understand what we've missed now. Because I think for a while I was like, Onan and Mepnor are our best two. You go with that. And then Ballard came back in, I was like, oh yeah, I kind of. Sometimes when it plays out longer, they get better. For me, Ballard been out longer for some reason. I forgot how good he was, and then I seen him, and he was just brilliant, great in the playoffs. Sophie, who's the player you think will make the step up with minimal fuss?
I think Trey Hume. I
Yeah,
think that just the longevity of kind of his journey and that upward trajectory that he's on as a footballer, and I just think the consistency that he's had this season and the traits and attributes that he has, I think it'll just carry over. I really do.
yeah. I would be really surprised if Trey struggles. I think he's a right back in making. Premier League right back in the making. Pete, there's still quite a few choices here, but you get the final word, I guess.
Yeah, do you know what? Yeah, there's a load of them I could go for, and I'm gonna go with Dennis Serkin
Uh-huh.
because I think he's had this season, which has not been his best by a long shot. He got very lucky in the playoff final. He got very lucky that Patterson was on his toes, but I started the season talking about how I thought he was a Premier League left back already,
He was really
and
good till he
I
broke his
gave him
wrist.
and I gave him a lot of credit. And then when he's not been at his best through there, I think we have dug him out of it. But I do think that not dug him out of it, but when he's not been his best, we've said he's not been his best. I think that's a transitional season. I just hope it's a transitional season for him because you start. I just think he could be ready to make that big step up. And when he is on song and when he's attacking going forward, I think he's a wonderful asset to have with that left foot to cross. And he's also a fantastic talent a threat going forward from set pieces. I mean, he's put himself on the line enough times. There's obviously the one at Millwall where he got himself absolutely sparked out, but his there's been plenty. Hopefully he's learned from that one where to put his head and where not to. But no, I think he's a great threat going forward as well as being able to be a huge asset at the back. Yeah, so that's going to be my one. So I think we will be. I hope anyway, because this could absolutely blow up in faces here. But yeah, I hope they will make the step up to the defense because I think there's some real talent there, and I think they deserve the chance to try it against some of the very best in the world.
I'll give you two.
Mm.
So I'll give you a very short and simple reason for my number one, Patrick Roberts, because he's class. Don't
Yeah,
care what anyone says. I'm not bothered.
kind of. He's shown that, hasn't he? Coming back with his half-torn
Just class. I
calf
just love
muscle,
him.
doing what he did in the final.
I don't
I,
care what anyone says.
I genuinely
Hats off
think
to Paddy.
Patrick Roberts as an impact sub in the Premier League would be fantastic.
Yeah.
I just think the way Roberts plays when he gets that defense, tired defenders and running with the ball, I think just being an impact sub will suit him so much better at this stage of his career. If we can get someone else in there, right? That's the problem as well, Paddy. He's had no competition now since Ahmad's gone. We haven't had any decent right wingers, and if anyone's
Maybe
seen,
he comes back, Ross. Maybe he comes back.
it
Kirill
depends.
dips into the pot.
I gets the trust fund out. You never know. Um, no, but that's what I mean. He's never had genuine competition. I honestly think. I know I'm butting in again there, Graham. Sorry, I will let you
Yes.
get off. But I do think being an impact sub will suit Paddy Roberts next season.
No, I think it'll start from the start and be class. And I think it's as simple as that. I think people just need to accept it. Before I let you go, I think the player that will make the step up from the Eredivisie will be Jordan Henderson. So
Oh,
nice to have you all on, and thanks for talking about Sunderland again, which has been nice.
Thank you for having us anytime. I just want to keep talking about Sunderland for as long as possible at the minute.
I do on the podcast. I don't want to talk about it on the internet. The internet's fucking pissing me off.
Oh, it's a strange old place, isn't it?
It's very odd.
I
Yeah,
don't think it's going to catch on.
I don't like it. I think it should go
No.
back to typewriters and snail mail.
Pigeons.
Don't like them either, to be honest.
Oh, they're
rats
nice,
with
man.
pigeons. All birds are rats with wings.
Yeah, that way we end the podcast.
Fucking lost. The season review, we get promoted to the Premier League and we end it talking about fucking pigeons. Unbelievable.